Welcome back, everybody, to a special episode of the Fixed Ops Mastermind powered by OEM Interactive. This is one of our We Are series, Women Educating in Automotive Retention and Excellence. And I am excited today to be joined by my two guests, Jennifer Cline and Katie Mares. And you're all familiar with Katie, but most of you are probably not familiar with Jennifer. And so we'll start out, Jennifer. If you can give us a little introduction to who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into the show.
My name is Jennifer Cline, and right now I'm a social media influencer and YouTuber. And this was not my career path, my chosen career path. Just a brief summary. My husband was killed in an accident 16 years ago. And so, following that loss, I was faced with doing his tasks around the house and also mine. So, I picked up his tools and taught myself. And it has led to a whole different life for me. And I want to encourage women to pick up tools and work in the trades. And I realized there was a gap that needed filled. So I hope to influence that.
Excellent. Katie, a little introduction of yourself.
Gosh, I think what you're doing is so great. I am doing something similar. First off, though, I my experience is in customer experience, and I help, the female consumer come to the forefront, especially in male-dominated spaces like the automotive space. And when I say female consumer, not just external customer, but also the internal customer. How do we create an environment they want to shop in and work in? But I also own a nonprofit called Ladies Take Control, as I am a domestic abuse survivor. And my passion is about helping women find the courage to do hard things, regardless of their circumstances.
All right. Great introductions there. And thank you again, both of you, for being here. And this show is called Breaking Boundaries. And we're going to break this up into three segments. Segment number one is the journey to breaking boundaries. Segment number two is overcoming challenges and redefining leadership. And we'll finish it out with segment three, which is paving the way for future generations. And so, Jennifer, I wanted to start with you. You kind of gave your story there of how you actually got started. Um, but what really inspired you to continue down this journey in this male dominated space? I mean, obviously you could have picked up the tools in your shop at home and done your normal thing during the day and then done that at night. But you've taken it a different way where you really get to influence people.
Right. Well, there was a catalyst moment, and that was I began posting things that I was making on Facebook and social media. And I came across, or someone brought it to my attention, that there was a contest through DeWalt. It was called the Show Us Your Tough contest. And there was something about it. I saw the advertisement for it, and I was like, I'm going to win that. Like, I just knew in my soul I was going to win that. And it was a fabulous, and I did. And that's a whole story in and of itself. But following that, I realized that there weren't any women being used in the tool industry in marketing.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And the ones that were, there was one major, I guess I'll say it, Makita had a Miss Makita. And I really felt that in this day and age, that was the wrong representation for women. And it wasn't helping anybody. And I felt that I needed to take on that role and show that you could be feminine, but you could also be capable and competent
Hmm.
and know what you're doing with tools. And so that was my personal mission that I took upon myself.
This segment is brought to you by PartsEdge. Your parts department is the backbone of your dealership and is responsible for nearly half of your total profits, according to NADA. Our system works within your DMS for a hybrid approach that combines the precision of automation with the nuanced decision making of parts experts. It's a huge mission, right?
Yeah.
To,
Oh,
to,
yeah.
to jump in there and do that. And kudos for you for seeing that and seeing that opportunity to jump in there and put women in a different light in the tool industry.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't have to be um the calendar girl, right? For the tool industry. You can actually go out there and did you win that contest for
I
July?
did. Oh yeah, I
All right.
waged a whole. But what people don't realize when they see those Facebook things, you think you're going to put your picture on and people are going to see you that don't know you and they're going to vote, and that is so far from the truth, because it takes time. There's hoops you have to jump through to vote.
Mhm.
But I between at the time I was working as a paralegal, with a grand jury in a neighboring county, and I worked with a lot of police officers. So I basically had to wage a campaign, vote for me, and I'm from a small town. My whole town got behind it and like wanted to see me win. So I really credit it with the people around me that put me there. But yeah, I never let up. But I saw that announcement and I'm like, I'm going to be there. I don't come hell or high water. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to go. I'm the winner. Everybody else might as well just not even bother.
Love
I love that confidence. And Katie, so your story, you're customer service expert, but what made you choose automotive to drive that?
Oh gosh, I mean, I had some really awful car buying experiences, like several of them. And as a customer experience expert, I couldn't believe we got a better customer experience with a $7 latte than a $70,000 vehicle. And so I went down that rabbit hole of research and really realized, wow, there's an opportunity here, not just in the customer experience realm, but even more so for the female, because I couldn't believe the gender disparity gap that I was being faced with every time I went into a dealership. Like, I couldn't give my money away. It was, "Is your husband here?" I wear my hair up. I'm a very casual person, so my hair's up in a bun. I come in some Uggs with some jeans and a t-shirt. Do you have enough money? Are you old enough? Are you, I even got once, is your grandpa, like my grandpa? So I couldn't give. I'm a single mom of three. Like, I'm okay. Like, I can buy my own vehicle. And so it really sent me down an even deeper research rabbit hole of, well, why? Number one. Number two, how? So, what are the physiological differences between men and women? Why do women buy versus why men buy? And why is it important for men to pay attention? The reality is the female consumer is no longer a niche. Like, we, by 2027, or sorry, 2028, sorry, correction there, by 2028, 75% of all the world's discretionary income will not be influenced, it will be controlled by women. So we're no longer a niche. We're no longer a nice to have. If you're not casting your experience net wide enough to capture the heart, the mind, and the pocketbook of the female consumer, you're losing. So that's what got me into the space, is I was like, there's such a huge opportunity here to break the mold and to create environments that women want to shop in and work in.
Yep.
I love
She's
that.
absolutely right. if I can interject,
Yeah.
I actually, when I went to purchase a Trailblazer, it was my boyfriend at the time, um, later became my husband. But when we went, I was completely invisible
Mhm.
Mm.
to the salesman, and he started getting information and started talking to Gary and asking for his credit report information. And I'm like, hello. And so later on, I actually called the dealership and I said, I will not be buying anything from you, and this is why.
Yeah.
But I
Mhm.
felt completely overlooked. It was a horrible experience. Why would you? He wasn't even going to be on any of the
Yeah.
paperwork.
Yeah.
I'm
Nothing.
like, I don't have a husband. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
It's such a it feels like such an obvious thing, and yet it continues to happen. Um, and so can you tell me a defining moment in your career, when you knew that you were making an impact in the industry that you chose?
Hmm.
I can say when I started getting feedback on my YouTube videos. And it goes for men and women. because for women, they were like, thank you. I was very intimidated. I was afraid to pick up those tools. I was afraid to try anything. By seeing you do it, it gave me confidence. And then there's a flip side of the coin that a lot of men, and it hurts my heart, but a lot of men, the world looks at them and assumes that they know
Yeah.
how to use tools and that they're handy. And a lot of it almost was like a confessional, where they would come to me and say, thank you. I really appreciate your style in teaching. And they'll confess things to me that they wouldn't say to their male counterparts because they'll be
Mhm.
viewed as inferior or weak.
Yeah, I saw your post the other day where a man had commented on your post that said something like, "Leave it to a woman to explain this perfectly,"
Yes.
and can you also tell me? And then he had
Yeah.
another question. My wife, I always say I can't build a box. Like I can build things in landscapes with rocks and dirt and things. I can do anything with wood. I can't build anything, but I have these periods where my wife says I get possessed and I suddenly build something nice, but it happens like once every 5 years.
We
The rest
all
of the
have our
time.
talents. I don't do plumbing.
Yeah. And so Katie, how about you? Was there a defining moment where you were like, yes, I have actually made a difference in the automotive industry?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of pivotal moments that have happened parallel in the last few months, even with the auto space. Number one, presidents of the regional and statewide auto dealer associations are paying attention. So now these men are saying, "Oh, maybe we should listen to you and come speak to our dealerships that are part of our associations." Big companies like Toyota are having me come and speak on stage about, the female consumer. And they're not only having me speak to women, they're also making sure men are in the room, which I think is a huge deal. Um, but on another side, which, on the other side of the parallel walk I'm making right now, for me, it's how I'm impacting women and how they are starting to look at me and say, "Oh, well, if she could do this because I've shared my story, if
Mhm.
she can rebuild herself, if she can, regardless of her circumstances, keep moving forward, so can I in a male-dominated space." Because a lot of times we look at the obstacles in front of us, and instead of seeing opportunities, we see obstacles and we make excuses as to why we can't have the promotion or why we aren't worthy of the relationship or why we don't have enough qualification, whatever the excuse is that we make. And so now I'm working with women in the auto space, which is probably the my most rewarding uh, delta, like the most rewarding pivot, and knowing that I'm making an impact. And now I'm going to be speaking at the Hudson's Group, Women of Hudson conferences, and I'm going to be speaking to Premier Automotive uh, Management, their Premier Women in Leadership, which is like a big, huge group. They're both of around 50 dealerships. So knowing that I'm making a difference so women can then look at themselves and say, I can do it. I can build that thing. I can have that promotion. I am worthy. That's the impact that I was hoping to make. And now I see I'm actually making it. So I would say it's all within the last few months.
It takes a while to get that traction going, right? But
Well, especially
once
in the
you get
auto space. I mean,
it,
it's like
right.
turning a cruise ship. Are you kidding me? Like, who are you kidding? It's like nobody wants to change. Yeah, and as a woman in the auto space, to be heard is really, not just from a male perspective, but from a female perspective, to build that trust where
Mhm.
women will let you in and say, "Oh, I can learn from her." That for me, as I said, is most rewarding because they're not looking at me being with a scarcity mindset saying, "Oh no, she's going to take my position or she's going to, because we act in a scarcity mindset in this industry. It's more of like, "Oh, how can I learn?" And that trust building it takes time.
Do you find that you get that resistance from women? A lot?
I can share a personal experience. There was one time I was speaking to two women, um, marketing department, and she was kind of thinking out loud and saying, and they were reviewing pictures I took with a product. And this is almost verbatim. She said I was too pretty, too thin, and needed a man standing in my background to make me look tougher.
Oh
She said, if
my.
I show this to my marketing team, this is what they're going to say. And
Oh
I
yeah.
almost it was like slapping me with, across the face. I couldn't believe that would have maybe been a better internal thought, but it did give me insight to what is actually going on behind the scenes at that
Mhm.
company,
Yeah.
that she would actually say that. And I'm like, all of what my gut was telling me what was happening, because outwardly they talk about how we promote women and we do this and we do that. And I'm like, I think what's happening behind the scenes is a completely different thing. And I think it's unfortunate on many levels. And I mean, that was a woman that said that to me, but I had to think about it later. And I thought, they're also trying to make their way in a man's world. They're
Hmm.
probably the minority over on that side, and they're taking a big risk
Mhm.
by saying, hey, we should use Jennifer in our marketing. And maybe they don't want to put their neck out like that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, but that was the conversation that we had. And I just was so blown away. And I at first said, like, I lost my husband and picked up his tools and I got here, and I deserve to be in your ads.
Hmm.
And then I'm like, but I want to work with them, so I don't want to take them off too bad. So and I made light of it, but I couldn't believe that that is actually the thought process that is going on, behind the scenes. And it also explains why there really aren't women on in their ads.
Yeah. And I mean, I can certainly see where it's a difficult position for them to be in also, where they're trying to make their way in a male dominated company, right? And for them to stick their neck out and say that, they're taking a chance of, once that door closes, of the conversation in the room turning to, why do we have them running our marketing if that's what they're going to bring us, right?
Exactly. And none of those allegations are true. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, if I want to look glamorous in my videos, I can try. But when I'm working with tools and I'm being serious, my hair is pulled back, and sometimes I don't wear makeup, and it's why. But I purposely want to show that women can be both. We don't have to be
Yeah.
masculine just because we're working with tools.
Hmm.
Yeah. I love that. You just gotta show up as authentically you. Well, that's just it, is like, I was having the conversation before I jumped on here, and I with my boyfriend, and I'm sitting here going, "Today's just the day I'm showing up with a ponytail and a t-shirt because that's what I feel like doing." And I'm like, "I don't know if it's the right thing to do, but that's authentically Katie today, and that's how I'm gonna show up." Because I have an event tonight. I'm like, "I wanna wash my hair later tonight." So we can be both. But it's the reality, I try very hard, on social media as well, to show up as authentically me, but to show that we have so many different facets about us, and it's not one or the other. You can be glamorous, you can be casual, you can wear no makeup, and all versions of you are wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, women get judged much more harshly on that stuff, right? Than men. The general manager of the dealership can show up in a three-piece suit, right? And the next day show up in a t-shirt and jeans, right? And he's still looked at as the GM. He's still given that same respect. But when women change that look, it's like, she came to work like that, So that's definitely some of the conversations that happen behind the scenes. And so we're going to move into segment two, which is overcoming challenges and redefining leadership. And with segment two, I'm going to do our quote of the week, which says, "We are more powerful than we realize, and we can accomplish anything we set our minds to." And that was Alicia Keys, uh, and ties into what both of you are doing, right? That quote, because for you, Jennifer, to jump into an industry that um, it might actually be more male dominated than the automotive industry, right? Um, and you, Katie, in the automotive industry, where it is definitely male dominated, but there are women that are in high level positions.
Mhm.
There are women that are service advisors. Um, but in the trade part that you're in, Jennifer, obviously I'm not part of it, but I can't imagine that there's really that many women as a percentage. Is probably more in automotive than there is in your business.
Yes, it is smaller. And also, there's the aspect of me doing YouTube reviews with tools, which I don't know of very many other women that are doing that either.
Hmm.
And I on a lot of times I feel like I'm held to a different standard. Now I'm not. I consider myself aligning with the trades, but I'm not getting in a work truck and going and working on a job site. My work is done at home. Or I do things like I'm fixing up my dad's house. But I feel like I'm held to a different standard. I'm expected to be a full-fledged tradesperson, which I came to this later in life. I'm not going to do that probably on a job site. But I do feel like, okay, we're going to use you for our campaign, or we're not going to use you because you're not a tradesperson. There was an instance, if I can just tell a story to help
Yeah.
illustrate this. There was a company that I reached out to. I wanted to do, and I was getting asked by my followers, please review this zero turn mower. So on LinkedIn, I was able to find the correct people. We had a conversation. I told them my followers are asking for this. And basically, they got back to me and told me they were looking for a pro that is a pro landscaper, tradesperson, and that I wasn't right for the part, basically. And then a couple months later, I see on Instagram that they've partnered with a male, and I'm not bashing, he's a friend of mine, but he's a creator, he's a dad, he's a stay at home dad,
Hmm.
and he's a homeowner. But they were using him for their, and I thought, why is he right for that collaboration, but I'm not?
Mm.
So
Yeah, not
help
a
me fill in the
professional
gap
landscaper,
there. Yeah. So I
right?
actually went out and bought the mower myself, and I did my own darn review. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show you what you missed.
Love
This is
that.
what I'm capable of. And I wanted it. It would have been nice to get a discount or something, but whatever. Here's
Yeah.
my video, which is ranking in the top. So their loss.
That's right. There you go. That's great. So, Katie, what's been your most significant challenge as a woman in the industry, and how have you navigated through that, or if you're not through it, how are you navigating it?
I think the biggest challenge for me in the automotive space is I'm not from the automotive space. Like, I'm not from the automotive industry. As a customer experience expert in hospitality and travel and in medical, I don't come uh, from a dealership. I used to say I hadn't sold a car. I mean, at some point in my journey, I did own a dealership, um, which most people don't know about, but because I'm not an automotive girl, or an automotive woman, they're like, how can you know anything about automotive? Why are we going to accept you from a woman's perspective and a man's perspective, from both genders? The reality is that, and this is the way I combat it, is that the automotive space isn't getting it right. And they need to look outside the industry in order to make a change. And so they actually need me, with not being an automotive woman, to be able to actually open up their eyes and see something a little different, because you can't fix what you don't know is broken. And if you're looking at the dealership down the street who isn't doing it right, and you're copying what they're doing, or um, walking the same path that they're walking, your customers are getting the exact same experience. And I believe we're in what I call the experience competition era, where right now experience is all that matters. And the competition is where women and men, your customers, spend their discretionary income. And that's at places like Starbucks and Amazon and Nordstrom. And if they do buy anything from influencers on Instagram or TikTok or wherever they are spending their discretionary income, is where their expectations of an experience are level set. And so if automotive as an industry doesn't start looking outside their industry, then they're just going to keep disappointing their customers, because disappointment is expectations not met. So I would say one of the biggest hurdles I've had is that I'm not a car gal.
Mhm.
But on the flip side, how I've overcome that is just, again, showing up as authentically me. No, I'm not a car gal. Um, but I've got way more insights and information that's going to help you grow that a regular car gal or car consultant or customer experience person that's been in the industry forever won't be able to give you. So that's how I've overcome it. It's really at every turn, at every obstacle, I've just chosen to show up as me, and it's always kinda won the battle.
I love that. And you talked about best practices. I used to always say when I was running stores that I didn't care about, like, the owner would come back from a 20 group with their best practices. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's great, but there's no dealerships out there that are doing such an incredible job that those
No,
best practices are going to be anything more than mediocre,
yeah.
right?
I find
And
it
you
interesting that we have a lot of parallels, Katie and I. Like
Mhm.
we are viewed like we had people have a preconceived notion of what an expert witness looks like.
Mhm.
And you know, you don't have to. You can still be knowledgeable about a subject and not fit what the mold is. I
Yes.
think that like they want diversity, but they want their definition of diversity.
Uh-huh.
If you
That's
don't look like
so
what they have in mind, then nope, we can't have her. So, but she's also an expert, and I feel like if they would, a lot of companies just talk to me instead of being intimidated or afraid, or I don't know what the obstacle is. Sometimes I'm
Mhm.
like, why? Please explain to me why I'm being treated this way. I think it's just maybe ego. They don't want to think that we know their industry better than they do.
well, that, and I think it's just uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable, right? That means, oh, I have to admit that maybe I'm doing something wrong, which very few people in this world like to eat humble pie, right? Like, and especially males who are, a little more egotistical than a woman. But it's also, oh, I have to change. I might have to do something different, and everything's okay right now. So why do I have to do something different? I think
Mhm.
there's a lot of the, as I said, eating the humble pie and realizing, oh crap, I have to change. And it's just easier to stay as I am.
Yeah, that change portion is definitely difficult because from the automotive side, you have people who have been making a very good living along
Yeah.
the way, right? And then you come in and go, you need to do things differently. And in their head, it's like, why?
Mhm.
I'm making a good living. I'm obviously doing something right. And they are doing something right. They're just not doing everything right.
Right. And why not capture every you don't know who your customer is if you're not talking to half of the population.
Yeah.
Right.
When I go places, I look who's doing the work. If I drive down the road, I'm looking who is doing the lawn work. What tools are they using?
Mhm.
And most of the time, like it's about half and half.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Women are taking care of, they own their own properties, they're taking care of their own lawns. And why is no one talking to those customers? Why are
Yeah.
you assuming that women aren't your customer?
Mhm.
It boggles my mind. Why not? Or I'm a single mother, like, and how many single moms are out there raising children? Like, there's potential future customers there too.
Yeah.
Like, I use a certain brand because that's what my husband did, but now my son uses it because his mother does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, why? I just, from a marketing perspective, think, what are you doing? You're all asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. It's so true. Women influence 3 to 4 generations of spending. So those who don't take a look at their future funnel, because that's what it is, their future sales funnel, and they don't look at the woman as the future sales funnel, then they're missing out. I've told this story a few times in, on stage or in one of these interviews. But I used to have, my girlfriends over on Fridays and all of their kids. The moms came over with a bottle of rosé, and the kids, came to play. And I would serve a meal, there'd be like 15, 20 kids around a table, and I'd put out every brand that I bought. It would be sitting on that, so whether it's the ketchup brand or the mustard brand or the chicken finger brand, whatever it is that I was serving. And my girlfriend called me and she's like, I have to tell you something. I'm like, what? This was years later. They're in the grocery store. Her son, which is my son's friend, stops her and says, Mom, can you get that? That's what Katie used to serve. So
Hmm.
the influence, and you look in the automotive space or in the trade space, or like with tools, but every time a child walked up my driveway, they saw the brand of vehicle I was driving.
Yeah.
If they went into a garage, they're going to see the brand of tools, especially little boys that are hanging around are going to see the brand of tools, and girls too, that are in that garage. And it's usually signed off by a woman.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. If you drive by my house, it'll be my wife that'll be out there mowing the front lawn.
There
I do the back, but she takes care of the front. Um, and my son and I are always getting yelled at for parking in front of the house instead of down in the driveway because it blocks all our hard work to make it look nice.
It's interesting. I just got a company I'm working with. It's like a third party that approached me about working for a tool brand, and they sent me like the brand's influencer brief, and they made up these hypothetical two male influencers, and like with their their target market and what they care about, and I'm looking at this product thinking, and it's a tire inflator. And I'm thinking, nowhere in here did you even, your marketing team didn't even think that maybe it's a safety issue for women,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that every woman should have this in their
Hmm.
vehicle so that you're
Yep.
not stranded somewhere and at the liberty of whoever helps, stops to help you. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
never in their marketing department sat down, and I just went, oh my gosh,
Well, so 93% of marketing directors are men still.
Yeah.
that explains that.
So experiences and marketing it's designed by men. In the automotive space, it's delivered by men, and in your space too, delivered by men. Yet women are the ones we are the chief purchasing officer. We make, between 85 and 90% of all household purchase decisions.
Hmm.
Period. We are the chief medical officer, we are the travel agent, we are the chef, we are the tutor, we are everything. So if you're not marketing to us appropriately, and pink is not a solution, I'm just going to throw that out there.
I
There has
know.
been some products that they make a girl version. We don't want a girl version, but we just want to be considered.
Hmm.
And they can definitely hit a huge market if they considered, like you said, Jennifer, the fact that every woman needs a tire inflator in her vehicle.
Hmm.
Exactly. Yeah, I just saw an ad for pink and it was from Lowe's, which I love Lowe's dearly. But I'm like, is this what you, I almost started to comment, but I could see the other people who had liked it and they're in the tool industry too. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, back it off. But I started to comment, is this what you masterminds think that women want?
Yeah.
We don't want pink tools. Stop patronizing us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make me
Amen.
mad.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So at any rate.
All right. So, next
I'm gonna
question.
take you off track of your questions.
I'm
You
sorry.
totally have that. I'm just sitting back and letting the conversation happen. That's what I'm here for, to facilitate a discussion. Um, how have you each redefined leadership of yourself, considering that you're in these rigid male industries, where the male leadership is looked at in a certain way, right? Again, we go back to that general manager at the dealership. If he comes out and he's tough on one of the salespeople, right? They look and go, well, he's a tough leader. That guy's tough, right? And we all know what's going to get said if a woman comes out and does the same thing, right? And so, how are you redefining just leadership of yourself? Because you're both individual people. You're not necessarily working inside a company, um, but you're still working within those rigid male role models.
Well, I mean, I goes back to authenticity. I just show up as me. I mean, there's only one me, there's only one you. If somebody has a problem with me, then cool, we can have this conversation. But I mean, I'm pretty darn great. So I'm just going to show up in my authentic self. And I have a very servant leadership mindset. So I'm out to serve and help people get further in, whether it's in their revenue or, creating culture where people want to work, or if it's in their own personal life. And for me, that can't be done if I'm fake. I can't lead a way. I can't pave a path if I'm trying to be someone I'm not. Not everybody's going to like you, and in my experience, if you're making a few enemies, I guess you can say it, then that means you're probably doing something right. You're doing something that people feel make them feel uncomfortable, and that's where growth is. So I would say, for me in leading, it's like it's a self check. I eat humble pie a lot. I look in the mirror. I believe that excellence is on the other side of I don't feel like it. So I challenge myself a ton, but I just show up as me. I mean, I don't know what other way to live, whether it's leading in life or business. You just need to show up as you.
I have to be me. I can't be, and I'm not. I feel I'm very tough, but I'm not one to yell at anyone if I'm upset or anything like that. I really try to calm down. Now, it's different for me because my interactions are over the internet. So I do get a lot of trolling,
Hmm.
and a lot of times that upsets me. And I typically I might think about it for a while if somebody is really bad. And then because I get a lot of make me a sandwich and did your husband do the work and then you jumped in at the end? Or
Hmm.
there was one that said, the kitchen is calling you.
Wow.
And so like I'll let it stew for a while and then I typically answer it with humor. That's
Hmm.
usually the way I respond. I might take that clip and do a humorous video about it, and then I feel a lot better. Now, that's just the way I deal with it because it can be really tough hearing that all
Yeah,
day long.
Yeah. Cutting
yeah,
cutting a sandwich with a circular saw.
I've done a reciprocating saw, and I
I
opened
love
a
that.
beer with my jigsaw. So I have done like fun, playful videos too. If
Yeah.
there's a trend going on. But yeah, I try to not come back with anger. I try to put a humorous
the
spin on it, and then I can feel good about that.
Yeah.
yeah, the other thing I always and I have, mentees and even my kids, I always, say, if somebody's coming at you with anger or slights like that's happening, you can only just imagine, wow, I feel bad for that person. What is going on in their life that
Hmm.
they feel the need to make someone else's life uncomfortable or make someone else feel badly about themselves? Like, I just have that compassion and that empathy of like, oh my gosh, I wish I could help that person find happiness, because if they are happy, there's no reason to pass a slight at anyone else. And so I always try to like put myself in others shoes and not let it affect me, and just have compassion for them, because
Which
you
is
never
difficult to
know.
do sometimes, though.
It is, but the thing I guess being, and Jennifer, you've been through something I can't even imagine, and I've been through something that, unfortunately a lot of women can imagine. Um, but when you have that perspective of, the way social media is today is, everything looks perfect, right? Everything looks like I call it the white picket fence syndrome. Like, everybody's life is perfect. The reality is it is not. And we hide a lot, and we use social media as a way to hide those things. And we use, whether it is humor or slight or whatever, we use those things to hide what's really going on. So while it is difficult, it makes the world a better place it makes your world a better place when you don't let it stew, or, be angry, or, when you can just say, okay, well, I just, wow, that person. So I'll give just a quick example. I have a 17-year-old mentee. She's incredible. And I talk to her once a month, and her parents are like, help me with my daughter. I need her to be more positive, and she's just the most incredible human. But anyway, she's talking to me about teenage problems. My boyfriend's ex-girlfriend shows up at school and her boobs are up here and I feel insecure, 17-year-old problems. And I looked at her and I said, "Well, what do you think is going on in her life that she feels that the only way she can get attention is if her boobs are out and she needs the attention of men and so on and so forth?" Well, I just got a text like 2 days ago, and this call happened about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, 2 days. "Well, Katie, you were right." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" "Well, I found out, her dad's cheating on her mother. Her dad, won't help her pay for college. He's not around. So she's doing this because she's insecure." So often, a lot of our actions are based off of a hidden story that we are not willing to tell. And if we can have that compassion and empathy, it makes things so much, I mean, makes just life so much easier and better to live.
Empathy is a short word that has incredible power within your life and the life of others.
I do wanna say, though, for any woman that does wanna show her cleavage, like, power to ya. But I just, when you're 17 and you're feeling that need, there's obviously something else going on, and so by flipping that lens, so Chick-fil-A does this, video, it's called, Everybody Has a Story, and you can find it online, and every single one of their new hires, watches it, and, it's just incredible way to realize that even the woman, buying, a meal, that might be the only, 5, $10 she has to buy that meal. I mean, I can speak from experience. I was literally discarded, bank accounts frozen. I was told to go sell my body for groceries. He took everything. I had not 2 nickels to rub together, but no one would have known. So everyone has a story, and so empathy is extremely important. So when you're dealing with whether it's trolling or, an employee or somebody in line, maybe they're irate at somebody, and you're like, "Oh, what's going on in their world?" I totally took us off topic. Completely.
It's relevant. No, and you're right.
Mhm.
You're right. And a lot of times I can see I've had enough of these comments said to me that I'm like, okay, they're jealous. They think I'm getting free tools and they
Yeah,
think they should be getting the free tools. Or they're afraid that if women start figuring out how to do things that men won't be needed.
yeah,
So I've had enough of it that I can pinpoint what their motivation
yeah.
is. And what are you going to do?
Exactly. What are you gonna do? You just gotta
Yeah.
go and live your joyful life and feel
Yeah.
compassion for those people.
Right. Right.
All right, that was a great discussion that was not within the framework
Sorry.
of what we've been talking about, but
You can cut it
so
out.
so important to have those discussions. And so now we bring it into segment 3, which is paving the way for future generations. This segment is brought to you by Automotive Warranty Network Incorporated, family owned and operated claims management service based out of Denver, Colorado. They currently process more than 100 million in warranty per month. The first question is, what advice would you give to young women that want to enter any male dominated industry, um, but they're feeling intimidated, unsure, uh, not confident about where they should start?
Yeah. Mentors.
Mhm.
Find a mentor, just like Katie said that she does. Find somebody that you connect with that has done it already, that can give you really good advice. And don't let anybody, because sometimes family or the people closest to you are concerned for you and they think they're helping you by telling you and steering you away. And it's going to be hard. And yeah, it's going to be hard, but you just have to make up your mind and you got to do it. And there
Mhm.
are a lot of resources for women. So do a little research and find out what those resources are. But definitely having somebody to have your back
Mhm.
is key.
I'd say just take the risk. I mean, no matter what you do, it's not going to work out perfectly. I would say, you can feed your history or you can feed your destiny, but you can't feed both, right? So just feed your destiny. Just, double down on you. And, like men, when they'll take a risk at if they feel 60% qualified, women will take a risk only when they feel 100% qualified. I'd say just, double down on you, feed into that destiny, get that mentor, but take the risk. Say yes for yourself. Everything else usually falls into place if you do.
Mhm.
And you might have to fight for your own worth too.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I know I get approached a lot, or when times I've had to stick up for myself and say, I should be getting paid. Okay, you want these videos done. It takes a lot of time. I
Mhm.
should be getting paid. And I'm told, oh, we don't pay anybody. And then late come and find out because I have friends and we all talk. And I'm like, all the guys are getting paid. So sometimes you
Mhm.
also have to fight for your worth too, which
Mhm.
is terrible. We should all
Mhm.
be getting paid the same, but sometimes you have to stand up for yourself and fight for your worth and know
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's a difficult position to be in, right? But you've got to fight through that fear, because I don't know who said that quote, but everything that you've ever wanted is on the other side of that fear. So,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Success, excellence is on the other side of whether it's fear or I don't feel like it. Usually fear is what drives the I don't feel like it, and
Hmm.
we're all guilty of it. Um, but yeah, just muster up the courage. Do it scared.
Yeah.
I'm more afraid of having regrets
Oh,
Yes.
that's a great
than
place.
anything.
Yeah.
And I can at least look back and say, I gave it my all. There is
Love that.
nothing else I could have done.
Hmm. Absolutely. I am definitely more fearful of regret than anything else. Um, So the stat of the week is going to tie into our next question. The stat is women in skilled trades typically earn 30% more than those in traditional female dominated occupations, um, in clerical or service type roles. Um, that I was surprised by that by that stat. And I don't think it's something that's looked at enough when women are trying to decide what they want to do with their careers, right? Where they can go into into automotive or another trade and make 30% more than a different career choice that they would have made. Um, I
Why
think that's
isn't that being broadcast everywhere?
Yeah.
right. Mhm.
That's the first time I'm hearing it.
Yeah, I've never heard that stat
Yeah.
either.
And that stat came from the Institute for Women's Policy Research.
Wow.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we should be broadcasting, to your point, Jennifer, the positive. Like, that's a positive stat. We only ever hear, oh, women are not paid enough, or women have to, fight through obstacles of microaggressive behavior, or so on and so forth. They have to fight for their worth. But to know that, that's incredible. We need to shout that from the rooftops.
Mhm. Absolutely. And so I tie that into this question, which is how do you think the landscape for women in the trades industries is going to evolve in the next 5 to 10 years? And you can add on there if we broadcast that stat with it.
I'm already seeing, I actually think that COVID, at least in my arena and like the online social media world, I know that COVID really, I saw a big turn because before COVID, I would do these DIY videos and show things, and there I was very much a minority. And then everybody was stuck at home and couldn't get tradespeople out to their house to work,
Mm.
and a lot of homeowners just took it upon themselves. And now there's some really awesome women who are doing like major redos in their house, and now it's definitely more prevalent. So I think that's gonna just that's more women representing, and more women getting excited about using tools and possibly as a trade where before I don't know that it was thought of as much. So I think that we're going in the right direction. It's just taken a gosh darn long time to get there.
Yeah, I would say the same in the automotive space. We're heading in the right direction. I think awareness is finally there. And I feel like now we're starting to take action, um, to the point of we should be broadcasting that stat everywhere. More women bring more women. So I think there just needs to be more women sharing positive stories about the industry. I think there needs to be more women saying, yeah, I mean, gosh, it's an industry without a ceiling. I mean, if you want to make money, come to the automotive space. The reality is there's going to be hiccups and bumps along the road in any industry you go into. And right now, there's no better time to be a woman in an industry as it is to be a woman in the automotive industry, because A, there's awareness, but B, there's a huge polarizing spotlight on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so dealers, third-party vendors, OEs, they are wanting to hire more women. So I just think that women want to do business with and work in businesses where they see themselves. So we just need to make women seen and heard. We need to stand up, speak out, and be seen. We'll attract more.
Yeah. hmm
Hmm.
Absolutely. It's that flywheel effect that you have to get going, right? We've got to get some more in there so that as women come into those businesses, they see more women there, and then that starts to get them and doing things like you're doing, Jennifer. Obviously, your kids as they're growing up are seeing you do this. People online are seeing you do this, and this is helping to get more people into these industries and realize that they can do it. Um, so to close this out, our final question: when you look back at your careers and what you've done, what do you hope, number one, that your legacy will be, and how do you want to be remembered by those who do come behind you? Whether it's to do the same career, same type of thing, or to join some other trade because they saw you.
Well, I'd like to be remembered as a pioneer and someone that saw the need for something, for representation, and made a change and didn't give up.
Hmm.
Um, One of the things, and I'll share it with you. I have a catalog. This was something that really kind of stuck with me. I requested a tool catalog to look through, and as I'm going through, I'm like, there are no female models in here. Why aren't there any female models? So I took it upon myself, and I believe very much in like dream boards, and you have to see it to be it. And like I have a dream board over here, so I went and put myself on the cover and like took pictures of myself. So I want to be seen. I hope that someday we'll get to a point where the people in the trades, especially my niche is marketing, will look back and say, okay, now we get what she was trying to do. Now we
Hmm
understand. Now we know why it's so important to show women in those roles. And I hope that they look back and say that I made a difference and that I didn't change and I didn't give up.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I would echo that. For me, though, it's more, I hope that women, they are able to find the courage to take those risks and to say, okay, look, Katie came from an outside industry. She, doors were slammed in her face. She continued to open them. She was kicked down. She stood back up. And as a woman, she was able to not only influence the experience female consumers receive while purchasing a vehicle, but the experience female employees receive while working in the industry. And I'm hoping those women can look at me and look at that path and say, I can do it too. And I can find that courage to, regardless of my circumstances, can take those risks because I'm worth it.
Mhm. All right. This has been an incredible show. And Jennifer and Katie, thank you so much for spending some time with us here today. Uh, Jennifer, where can people find you?
I my handle is Jenny from the shop. So you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on YouTube, and that's mainly tool reviews and DIY content, and then TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of the majors. If you search Jenny from the shop, you can find me.
Yep. Excellent. Katie?
Just Katie Maris. You can search me. I'll come up. KatieMaris.com, but on all social platforms. Ladies Take Control is another one. I do free mentoring circles for women every month, and we do free online events where I have incredible women pouring into them. So ladiestakecontrol.com, KatieMaris.com, or anywhere online.
Awesome. Again, Jennifer and Katie, thank you so much for spending time with us, and we will see everybody next week.